that the level of stupid that I just had to receive wants me to sit down, grovel on my knees, and be like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Yamato.
You make a bad pull, you make a bad call, that's on you.
That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro.
You know that feeling when someone's been getting away with everything for way too long, and then karma finally shows up with receipts? Yeah, that's exactly what's happening to Jason Pirate Software right now. But this isn't just a regular internet downfall. This is a masterclass in how to speedrun destroying your entire reputation while somehow making it worse with every single move you make. We're talking about a guy who went from beloved indie dev to the internet's most hated villain in record time. And honestly, he did it all to himself. Because here's the thing about Pirate Software. He didn't just fall off. He got exposed hard. And not just for one thing, but for literally everything. His coding skills, trash. His work ethic, non-existent. His personality, apparently as charming as a wet sock filled with expired yogurt. The man built his entire brand on being this elite hacker turned game developer, and it turns out he's about as elite as a participation trophy at a middle school science fair. So let's start with the obvious, his game development expertise. For years, Thor has been flexing about his 20 years of experience, his time working for the government as a hacker, and his technical prowess. Meanwhile, his magnum opus Heartbound has been in development for 8 years, and it looks like something a high schooler would submit for extra credits. 8 years. That's longer than it took to make GTA 5, and Thor's game has less content than a Happy Meal toy.
I recommend people actually download these VODs before he takes them down, because honestly, if I was claiming I'm a game developer with 20 years of experience, this would be embarrassing to have online.
Because when coding experts started reviewing his work, they didn't just find issues. They found code so bad, it wouldn't pass an entry-level intern review.
This would never ever be allowed in a production repository, and like I've been hinting, it's below what you'd expect of a bottom-tier intern.
We're talking about a guy who doesn't know basic programming concepts, trying to lecture people about game development.
I gave it back as feedback. I was like, that's horrible design.
But the coding disaster was just the appetizer. The real feast started when people began digging into his work history at Blizzard.
When I worked at Blizzard, I did that for Blizzard, 7 years, yeah.
Remember how Thor always claimed he got his second job there through pure merit, no nepotism involved? Well, his ex-coworker and roommate just dropped some nuclear level tea that completely destroys that narrative. Turns out, Jason spent his days at Blizzard browsing Reddit instead of doing actual work. His coworker literally sat next to him, watching him ignore assigned tasks while scrolling through memes. And when she tried to report his behavior, nothing happened, because Daddy worked at the company and nobody wanted to be the person who fired the executive's son.
It does not look good on your future at Blizzard if you mess with an executive's son. Everybody knows who Jason is. If you write him up, if you fire him for misconduct or otherwise, people are going to know you did it. They're not going to know that anything was actually going on. They're just going to know you were the guy that fired Joey Ray's son, and your career is pretty much toast.
But the roommate situation is where things get truly disgusting. This same woman was kind enough to let Thor rent a room from her, and within a single week, he had destroyed furniture, left the kitchen looking like a crime scene, and turned his bathroom into what sounds like a biohazard zone. We're talking about mysterious grey substances on walls, a shower with no curtain, and a toilet situation so bad she had to clean it wearing gloves. When he finally moved out, she found what she described as potentially snot or worse wiped on his bedroom walls. Now, this is a grown man, by the way, not a college freshman having his first taste of freedom, a whole adult human being who apparently never learned basic hygiene. And let's not forget his charming personality at work events, because at a charity event for children's hospitals, Thor was screaming at his co-workers for not playing League of Legends at a professional level. At a charity event for sick kids.
Video games. There was actually a charity event on campus. It's an Extra Life charity, and we would play games on campus for 24 hours straight. Pirate just happened to participate in this. I was on his team for a league tournament, and He screamed at our team for apparently not gearing correctly to counter the other team because we were just that bad.
The man was so toxic that his own teammates never wanted to play games with him again. That's not passion, that's being an unhinged nightmare who can't separate a casual charity game from the World Championship. But wait, it gets worse, because while Thor was busy being the worst co-worker and roommate in history, he was allegedly running crypto scams on his own audience. The Twitch hype train controversy isn't just about fake donations, it's about systematic fraud. Thor and his moderator were caught red-handed coordinating fake donations to artificially inflate his hype train record, complete with fake personas and scripted messages. His mod pretended to be someone else, donated $50,000, and Thor acted surprised like he was winning an Oscar. The whole thing was more staged than WWE. Nah, never mind, WWE is real.
Look at this dude. No.
But anyway, the legal implications here could be insane. We're talking potential federal fraud charges, state-level consumer protection violations, and Twitch terms of service breaches that could get him permanently banned. Thor didn't just scam his audience, he did it in the most obvious, traceable way possible.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Now, what makes this whole saga even worse is Thor's complete inability to take accountability for anything. When the Stop Killing Games controversy started, he could have just admitted he misunderstood the initiative and moved on. Instead, he doubled down, called everyone stupid, and told an entire movement to
You can eat my entire ass.
real professional behavior from someone who claims to be a serious game developer. The funniest part, Thor keeps claiming that making him the villain actually helped the Stop Killing Games movement, like he's taking credit for being so universally hated that people rallied against him. That's not strategy, that's cope. But this is to be expected as we're starting to see a theme here, because when coding experts pointed out his terrible programming practices, instead of learning from the criticism, he dismissed them as YouTube grifters trying to fight for relevance.
It's another, YouTube grifter trying to fight for relevance, dude. That's all that shit is.
When his ex-coworker exposed his work habits, he probably would have called her a liar if he wasn't too busy dealing with all his other scandals. Because the man has turned deflection into an art form. Every criticism gets met with excuses, blame shifting, or outright denial. It's never his fault, it's always someone else's problem. His code isn't bad, the reviewers just don't understand his genius. He wasn't slacking at work, he was just being creative. The hype train wasn't fake, his mod was just being supportive. Even Dr. K, a literal Twitch therapist, couldn't get through to him.
I think sometimes the things that I talk about in regards to those types of things is misconstrued as arrogance or boasting, when in reality, I'm just trying to give context.
So that
If
is
that
the
makes
problem
sense.
right there. So I want you to listen to this phrase.
Sure.
This gets misconstrued as arrogance, but in reality, it's this.
Yeah.
That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro.
And here's the beautiful irony. Thor's downfall is entirely self-inflicted. Nobody forced him to make terrible takes about the Stop Killing Games initiative. Nobody made him write garbage code for 8 years. Nobody told him to scam his audience with fake hype trains. He did all of this himself. And when people started calling him out, he made it worse by being defensive and arrogant about everything. And so the subscriber freefall tells the whole story. Over 200,000 people have unsubscribed from his YouTube channel in recent months. His viewership has dropped by 90%. His Twitch streams are ghost towns. The man went from breaking hype train records to barely scraping together a few hundred viewers. Now that's not cancel culture, that's consequences culture. People finally saw who Thor really was, and they decided they didn't want any part of it. What's even more pathetic is watching him try and maintain his image while everything crumbles around him. He's still screaming, still posting, still pretending like he's some kind of authority on game development. Meanwhile, his reputation is so toxic that he had to resign from his own company to stop the backlash from affecting his colleagues. Ludwig and the Off-Brand Games team basically had to distance themselves from their own co-founder because his presence was hurting their projects. But what really makes this deserved is that Thor had every advantage possible. Nepotism got him jobs he wasn't qualified for, his dad's position protected him from consequences, he had a massive platform, a loyal audience, and opportunities most people could only dream of. And he squandered all of it because he couldn't stop being an arrogant, lazy, dishonest person. He had the world handed to him on a silver platter, and he threw it in the garbage because taking accountability was apparently too difficult. Now, sometimes the internet loves a good villain origin story, but Thor's is different. This isn't someone who got corrupted by fame. This is someone who was always like this. The fame just gave him a bigger stage to display his worst qualities. The work ethic issues, the hygiene problems, the inability to handle criticism, all of this existed long before he became internet famous. So success didn't change him, it just made his flaws impossible to ignore. So yeah, this is the deserved end of Pirate Software, not because the internet decided to cancel him, but because he finally ran out of places to hide. The coding community exposed his technical incompetence, his former co-workers revealed his work ethic, legal experts highlighted his potential fraud, and through it all, Thor proved that he learned absolutely nothing by continuing to be defensive, arrogant, and completely unable to admit fault. So yeah, the pirate ship has sailed straight into the rocks, and Jason Hall, he's still at the wheel. But let me know in the comments if you think Thor can come back from this, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.